Welcome to Answers About Alzheimer's. This is where we answer all of your questions about Alzheimer's and dementia. Grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, wrap up in a cozy blanket, and let's chat. It's time to take a break. You deserve a little R&R, especially with the holidays fast approaching. Take a breather while you can. It's so vital to your health to take some time for yourself. So join me, relax, grab a pen and a piece of paper to jot down some notes. Breathe, roll your shoulders forward and backwards. Doesn't that feel good? Just kind of roll your shoulders. So, it's the holidays! Yay! Yay? Yay. No. This time of year is supposed to be festive, cheery, warm and fuzzy, time to be with family and celebrate. The expectations are so high this time of year, but is that realistic? Think back a moment and take a look at your holiday history. What does that look like? Do your holiday festivities always go off without a hitch and everything's Norman Rockwell perfect? Or do your holidays look more like a horror movie and at some point during the day someone or something throws a big wrench in the middle of it and just ruins the whole thing? I feel like the past few years I've finally gotten a pretty good handle on the holidays, and I'm going to share some of my best tips with you today. Personally, when I look back on my past holidays, my vision and expectations were so high that it was almost impossible to reach. We all want to have a wonderful time. We put in so much effort having or going to parties, planning the perfect gifts, the perfect meal, cleaning the house, trying to create peace within the family. Yeah, we've all got some of those in our family, don't we? All of this work only for it to be over in a few short hours. In general, the holiday season can be stressful enough. But then when you add in a family member, or maybe even multiple family members with Alzheimer's or another dementia, that can really add to the stress. I went through so many holidays with all of these problems, just like you. So I remember putting all this pressure on myself, trying to create the perfect holiday for myself and my family. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to create beautiful memories. But when the day came, there always seemed to be something that would go wrong. And the more effort we put into something, when it doesn't go right, the bigger the letdown. It can affect our mood, and then we can almost be sure that the rest of the day is going to just crumble like a Christmas cookie. Another holiday ruined. What a letdown. But do we really have to create such heightened expectations? Because that's really where the problem lies. The bigger the expectations, the harder they fall. So if you can start lowering those expectations, you will more than likely end the day on a positive note. This took me several years to accomplish, and it's still a work in progress. And every year, I lower the expectations a little bit more. And I'll tell you, it really took the pressure off. I'll give you some examples. Every year, I would try to invite certain members of the family that I knew would probably not come. And it was always a really big disappointment for me because I really missed them and I wanted to connect with them. But they chose not to connect with the family. That is out of my control. But it would bother me. It would upset me terribly for days or maybe even weeks. So as the years went on, I would lower my expectations. Before I even invited them, I would expect the result and prepare myself for it. And I would remind myself that this is on them and not me. And when they declined the invitation, it didn't bother me as much. And then, as years went on, I just stopped inviting them all together. I simply stopped creating this disappointing moment for myself. I stopped. That was in my control, my choice. I stopped blaming them. Sometimes we need to just stop putting ourselves in front of the disappointment. It's almost like you're asking for it. I hate to say it, but let's get real. We have a lot more control over these situations than we think we do. Stop putting yourself in front of the firing line and then getting upset about the outcome. Create a buffer for yourself and for your feelings and your confidence. Lower the expectations and take control over yourself because you can't control others. I learned that from Dr. Phil. But that's another video. People tend to get very emotional around the holidays because we may be reminiscing about our past traditions and missing those who may no longer be with us. We've been working extra hard, preparing, and we're thinking how unsure or different our future holidays might look. As members of our family age or their health declines, we may think this might be the last holiday that we have to spend with certain family members, and that can certainly add to the stress, creating even more pressure on ourselves to be happy and festive this time of year. As caregivers, we don't want to disappoint anyone, and we feel guilty or frustrated if things don't go according to plan. Well, now that we've talked a little bit about lowering those expectations around the holidays, I want to give you some of my best tips on how to have successful holiday visits when you're including someone who has cognitive decline. I have 6 of my very best strategies to share. So grab that piece of paper and a pen because you're going to want to write some of these down. Tip number 1, limit the guest list. You're going to want to keep the number of guests to a minimum. Those with dementia can get overwhelmed quickly in an environment with too many people or in a crowd. The noise levels and multiple conversations for a person with dementia can be disorienting. It can result in behaviors. If you have a large family or your typical holiday traditions involve large gatherings, you may want to consider having a separate celebration. Perhaps plan one earlier in the day with less people so that you can include your person with dementia. Having a separate, smaller gathering might just be the answer you've been looking for. This is a way for everyone to feel included and also takes the pressure off the person with dementia and also the person who is looking out for their best interest. So consider having a dementia-friendly celebration. Invite fewer guests, maybe play old-fashioned Christmas carols, and preparing favorite foods that that person really loves can really create a feeling of inclusion and beautiful memories for your future. Tip number 2, keep these visits short. People with Alzheimer's need shorter blocks of stimulation with periods of rest. Keeping a holiday visit between 2 to 3 hours can help reduce anxiety and potential behaviors. Plan ahead and have a designated person take mom or dad home or back to the care community after a couple of hours, or have a designated driver be prepared to leave at any time if mom or dad starts showing signs of getting overwhelmed. Another great idea is, if you have the space available, is to have a designated quiet area where the person with dementia can go and rest or take a break from all the festivities. My mom really appreciated this. She would go into my bedroom and take a nap for a few hours, and she would come out all refreshed. So having a nice place for them to retreat, if you have it, is a great idea. My next tip, number 3, is to change the time of day that you're celebrating. Most people with impaired cognitive ability usually function better earlier in the day. Those with Alzheimer's or other dementias tend to get tired as the day goes on, or they may be suffering from sundowning, and they may have heightened symptoms in the afternoon and the evening hours. Some family members might actually appreciate having a celebration earlier in the day if they have other commitments or are trying to split up their day between families and other gatherings. Perhaps a new tradition of a holiday brunch might be a great idea for your family. Tip number 4, share conversation best practices. First, you don't want your guests to feel uncomfortable or awkward around the person with dementia. Just give them a couple of pointers, and this will help both your guests and your person with dementia. Educate your family and friends about how to effectively communicate with someone with dementia. Ask them to use shorter sentences and focus on the keywords. Remind them to slow down and make sure that they're giving the person with dementia enough time to respond. Remind your guests that the person with dementia may be living in the past, or try to keep conversations geared more towards past memories rather than more current events or more recent memories. Remind your guests that people with dementia love to see a smile on your face. The 5th tip is, let your guests know that the person with dementia may not remember their name or who they are. If your loved one has a behavior that you anticipate might be evident at the party, like repeating themselves or maybe tearing up pieces of Kleenex, just let your guests know so that they won't be surprised about these types of behaviors, and let them know that it's okay and it's normal for that person. My last tip, tip number 6, this is my favorite. Have a designated angel. You may want to have more than one for your holiday gathering. Now, what do I mean by a designated angel? This would be a person or persons who are assigned to be the protector of the person with cognitive disabilities during the celebration. Having a designated person to keep an eye on mom or dad through the duration of the party could make or break the celebration and help the day go much, much smoother. This designated angel or protector would be responsible for making sure that mom or dad is safe and not wandering off, making sure that they feel included, and keeping a close eye on whether or not they may be getting overwhelmed and need to go home early or retreat to a quieter room for a break. During the visit, the person with dementia may not understand their surroundings. They may find the environment overwhelming, confusing, and difficult to navigate, and they may not be able to follow conversations. There may be too much stimulation in the environment. This can include things like multiple conversations, music, children playing, electronics, the clanging of dishes in the kitchen, and being suddenly surrounded by people that they don't know or with whom they are unfamiliar. The person with dementia may be feeling pressured to engage in activities that are beyond their capabilities. If they seem like they're getting overwhelmed or frustrated, just reassure them with a gentle touch and a warm smile and some encouraging words. To get the most out of your holiday visit, stop trying to live up to the expectations of family, friends, and past traditions. Remember to lower those expectations. Ask for some help and be flexible if the day doesn't go exactly as planned. Try to focus on quality and not quantity. Above all, remember to be patient with the person with dementia and yourself. If you incorporate these 6 simple tips and lower your expectations, you'll be in great shape for any family gatherings. Let me know in the chat box what ideas were your favorites. And remember, together we can. Be kind to yourself. And happy holidays from Answers About Alzheimer's. There are plenty more videos where this came from. If you hit that notification bell, you'll get a little ping letting you know that there's a new one and ensuring that you won't miss a trick. Thanks for being here. Drop me a comment. I love hearing from my faithful caregivers.